Yeah.
Next time, put it on before you shower.
Look, they'll be here any minute. Just my shirt?
That's right.
Thanks.
There was a time when The Cosby Show was seen as television's dream family in America. Warm laughter, witty situations, and the image of the model father Bill Cosby becoming a cultural icon. But behind that glittering screen were tightly closed backstage doors, where every cast member had to live within the boundaries set by the powerful dad. One by one, people quietly disappeared. No noisy scandals, no explanations given. It wasn't until the shocking wave of accusations against Bill Cosby erupted that some familiar faces from the past revealed the real reasons they left the show: conflicts, pressure, and a dark energy that had never been spoken of. So what really happened behind the laughter of the Huxtable family? Who had the courage to speak out? Who chose silence? And how did that truth change everything? Join me as we uncover it in this video, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next part. Lisa Bonet, the rebellious daughter who left without a word. When The Cosby Show first aired in the 1980s, each member of the Huxtable family had their own distinct personality. But if you asked who made audiences both adore and feel curious about the most, the answer would almost certainly be Denise, the second daughter with natural curly hair, a mischievous gaze, and a free-spirited style that was unlike anyone else. The one who brought Denise to life was Lisa Bonet. And yet, Lisa was also one of the people who disappeared from the show most quietly. No farewell episode, no goodbyes. The reason behind it was not as simple as the creative differences the press once reported. Behind it was a chain of events those involved still remember vividly. Lisa Bonet, born in 1967, joined The Cosby Show when she was just over 17 years old. From the very first episode in 1984, Denise Huxtable stood out from other TV kids of the time. She wasn't the obedient cookie-cutter daughter, nor was she a reckless rebel. Denise was real, magnetic, unpredictable, sometimes stubborn, and always determined to walk her own path. Off-screen, Lisa was the same. She didn't follow Hollywood's usual playbook, didn't try to curry favor with Dad Cosby for special treatment, and deliberately kept her distance from the show's political gatherings. The problem was, The Cosby Show thrived under Bill Cosby's near-total control. He wanted every character, every line to serve the image of an ideal African-American family on screen. And Denise, as portrayed by Lisa Bonet, though beloved by viewers, was a piece that didn't fit neatly into the mold. The real clash began in 1987, when Lisa, at just 19, accepted a role in the feature film Angel Heart. This was a noir-style film with themes of mysticism, violence, and explicit nude scenes. Meanwhile, Denise Huxtable was still the wholesome young woman of primetime television. Cosby's reaction was harsh. In an interview, he flatly stated, "This show is for families, not for tabloid headlines." For him, Lisa's decision to take the role was a betrayal of the values The Cosby Show was built to uphold. From that point, their relationship began to fracture. To ease the tension, Cosby moved Denise to the spin-off series, A Different World, focusing on her college life. On paper, this was to give the character room to grow, but everyone understood it was his way of pushing Lisa out of the show's main spotlight. But A Different World didn't keep Lisa for long. By the second season, she was written out, with the official reason again being creative differences. The real reason Lisa was pregnant with her first child with musician Lenny Kravitz, and Cosby refused to include that storyline in the show. Under those circumstances, her departure from the series became inevitable. In 1989, Lisa made a surprise return to The Cosby Show. Denise came home suddenly announcing she had married a Navy officer named Martin Kendall and had become the stepmother of little Olivia. The new plot twist gave the show a boost, but behind the scenes the atmosphere was ice cold. Crew members recalled that between Lisa and Cosby there was only the bare minimum of politeness. They acted together on camera, but when the cameras stopped, there were no smiles, no conversation. One crew member remembered nobody shouted. It was just long stares and long silences. The comeback didn't last long. Denise appeared less and less during season 6, and by season 7 she was gone entirely. No farewell scene, no explanation in the script. She simply wasn't there anymore. Notably, Lisa Bonet never publicly criticized Cosby at the time. She left quietly and continued her own career. But years later, when explosive allegations against Bill Cosby surfaced in 2014, Lisa finally hinted at her true feelings. In a rare interview, she said she was not surprised by the accusations. Lisa described how throughout their time working together, Cosby always emitted a dark energy. something that couldn't be hidden no matter how much he tried. She made it clear she had never witnessed any specific illegal acts, but the feeling was undeniable to her. When asked how she felt about Cosby's situation, Lisa replied simply, "It's about karma and justice." A short statement, but enough for audiences to understand she had no intention of defending the America's Dad image many colleagues still clung to. Interestingly, Lisa has never returned for major cast reunions. Even when anniversary events were held, she stayed away. Asked once if she'd ever want to reunite, Lisa bluntly said, "I don't need to go back to that energy." It was more than just declining an invitation. It was a declaration that she had found her own space and wasn't giving it up. Looking back at Lisa Bonet's journey on The Cosby Show, this is the story of a young artist who insisted on keeping her identity in an environment that demanded absolute compliance. She didn't choose open confrontation, but she also didn't trade her integrity for job security. And when the chance came, even if it meant leaving quietly, Lisa never looked back. Lisa's story is not just a chapter in The Cosby Show's history, it's proof that sometimes silence and a clean break are the strongest ways to protect yourself. But it also leaves behind a question that lingers. If Lisa Bonet and Bill Cosby had never clashed, could Denise Huxtable have remained a central figure? And would the Huxtable family's story have turned out differently? What do you think of Lisa Bonet's choice? And was her disappearance from The Cosby Show a loss or an opportunity for both sides? Stay tuned as we uncover more behind-the-scenes truths few have dared to speak. Sabrina Le Beauf, the quiet big sister who faded from the screen. From Lisa Bonet's story, we can see one thing clearly on The Cosby Show: not everyone left because of a big blow-up. Some simply faded away until they were gone. And the case of Sabrina Le Beauf, who played Sandra Huxtable, the eldest daughter of the Huxtable family, is the clearest example of being erased in silence. Sandra didn't appear from the very start. When The Cosby Show premiered in 1984, viewers only saw Denise, Theo, Vanessa, and Rudy. It wasn't until episode 10 that Sandra made her debut, a smart, calm college student who was portrayed as the family's pride. But from the very beginning, her position was different from her siblings. Sandra lived away from home, appeared infrequently, and most of her screen time existed to prove that the Huxtables had a successful, educated child. In real life, Sabrina Le Beauf was born in 1958, graduated from UCLA and Yale, and had a solid stage background. She was even nearly 10 years older than Phylicia Rashad, the actress who played her mother. Yet instead of being given depth, Sandra was boxed in as the perfect daughter. No trouble, no rebellion, and no real storyline. For a classically trained stage actress like Sabrina, this was like having her hands tied. This limitation was obvious in one telling detail: she wasn't even included in the show's opening credits. In many episodes, viewers would watch all the way through and suddenly realize, wait, Sandra didn't show up today. When she did appear, it was usually just a brief scene or a few lines to give an update. Even when the writers gave her a romance and later a marriage to Elvin Thibodeau, most of the attention shifted to Elvin, whose clumsy humor overshadowed Sandra's calm presence. Sabrina never publicly complained at the time, but small stories that emerged later revealed the truth. In 1989, when she appeared in only 5 of the 25 episodes that season, Sabrina asked not to be required on set when she didn't have scenes. The producers pushed back, even threatening to cut her pay. In the end, Bill Cosby reluctantly released her temporarily so she could perform in As You Like It, bringing her back only when needed. It might have seemed like support, but in reality it showed Sandra was treated more like a decorative piece in the family portrait. By season 6, Sandra's absence became more obvious. In some episodes, she appeared for just a few seconds. In others, she was completely missing. And then, without any explanation, she was simply gone. There was no scene of Sandra moving away, no farewell, no mention at all. After The Cosby Show ended in 1992, Sabrina largely withdrew from Hollywood. She returned to theater and worked as an interior designer, living quietly and rarely reuniting with the cast. When asked in 2019 whether she felt her character was underdeveloped, Sabrina simply said, "It's not what I know a daughter could be." A short but weighty answer that made clear she knew exactly how underused she had been. Interestingly, Sabrina remained completely silent during Cosby's scandals. No defense, no criticism, no comment. Perhaps like Sandra, she chose to keep herself outside the storm. But in a way that silence spoke volumes about her experience, she had been the big sister of the Huxtable family, yet was pushed so far to the margins that when she left, No one even asked why. And perhaps that's what makes Sabrina Le Beauf's story both sad and frustrating. She didn't lose her role to scandal, nor was she publicly removed. She was simply allowed to fade until she was gone. In a show that celebrated family bonds, the fact that the eldest sister left without a goodbye became a quiet but unfillable gap. Joseph C. Phillips, the decorative son-in-law who later dared to speak the truth, from the story of Sabrina Le Beauf, the eldest sister who faded away until she vanished. We move to another cast member, who also left quietly yet years later, became one of the loudest voices speaking out about Bill Cosby. That person was Joseph C. Phillips, who played Martin Kendall, Denise Huxtable's husband, and Olivia's father. Martin first appeared in season 6, introduced as a Navy officer, neat, disciplined, and bringing Denise a new little family of her own. On paper, this character had potential. A new son-in-law joining the Huxtables with a military background and a stepfather storyline. But in reality, Martin quickly became a literal set decoration. He would show up next to Denise, nod, smile, say a few lines, and slip out of frame. He was given no comedic beats, no personal story arcs, and almost no influence over the show's main rhythm. Bill Cosby once said, "Characters must serve the story, not the story serve the characters." In Martin Kendall's case, that line was true to the letter. He existed only to support Denise's story, and when Denise was absent, Martin promptly disappeared as well. When Lisa Bonet left the show for good at the end of season 7, the script explained Martin was overseas with his wife, but Joseph C. Phillips didn't even appear for a goodbye scene. At the time, Joseph did not complain. He expressed gratitude for being part of The Cosby Show, calling it a valuable career opportunity. After leaving, he kept working small TV roles, theater productions, and later appearances as a conservative political commentator. But Martin Kendall, as he admitted himself, was just a footnote in his career. Everything changed in 2014 when the wave of allegations accusing Bill Cosby of sexually assaulting dozens of women broke out. At first, Joseph, like many former co-stars, was skeptical. But as more testimonies emerged, and especially when a longtime friend revealed she was a victim, Joseph began to believe the truth was far darker than he had imagined. In 2015, Joseph caused a stir by publishing a long blog post titled, "Of Course Bill Cosby is Guilty." In it, he recalled that from the moment he joined the cast in 1989, he had heard stories about Cosby's womanizing, which everyone treated as common knowledge. No need to witness it firsthand to know it was happening. He admitted he initially didn't believe Cosby could be guilty, but under the weight of evidence and testimonies, he could no longer stay silent. Joseph even sent a direct message to Cosby. "You have a family, a wife who has always stood by you, and more money than you'll ever need. Step away from public life and live out the rest of your days in silence." This was advice not everyone would dare give, especially to someone who once gave you a career break. Cosby did not respond. He did not sue, did not issue a defense, only silence. But for Joseph, the final bridge between him and his TV father had burned. He knew speaking up could cost him relationships with colleagues still loyal to Cosby, but he stood firm. Sometimes telling the truth comes with a price, and you do it anyway. Joseph C. Phillips is a rare case, leaving The Cosby Show in a blur, yet years later becoming one of the boldest voices to confront and tell the truth about Bill Cosby. From the Huxtables' decorative son-in-law, he stepped out into the real world, chose to stand with justice. And that choice made his story more memorable than any script he ever performed. Malina White, a fresh talent quietly wasted, from the story of Joseph C. Phillips, who left quietly but later dared to speak the truth. We move to another case where the reason for leaving had nothing to do with scandal or conflict, but rather with a script that didn't know what to do with an unexpected success. This was Malina White, who played Charmaine Brown, Pam Tucker's quick-witted best friend. Karen joined The Cosby Show in its final seasons when the series was already losing steam. Yet within just a few episodes, Charmaine became a breath of fresh air that caught viewers' attention. She spoke at lightning speed, improvised effortlessly, and had a direct, humorous personality, always ready to trade banter with the Huxtable family, especially Theo. In a series known for polished, well-constructed dialogue, Charmaine brought a youthful, down-to-earth energy that felt authentic. Bill Cosby once admitted, "Some actors take half a season to find their place, but some need only one scene." Malina White belonged to the latter group. Starting as Pam's sidekick, she was given scene after scene because each appearance fit perfectly into the show's rhythm and drew positive audience feedback. There was even talk of giving Charmaine more screen time or developing a separate storyline for her college years. But all that remained? Just talk. Charmaine never appeared in the opening credits, and it was clear she wasn't part of the producer's long-term plan. As the final season approached, the show prioritized wrapping up the Huxtable family's main arcs, while newer characters, even popular ones, were trimmed out. The result? Charmaine vanished abruptly and silently. There was no explanation in the script, no farewell episode, and no on-screen mention of why she was gone. Fans who loved Charmaine suddenly realized she had disappeared after only a few episodes, leaving a noticeable gap in energy and humor. Several behind-the-scenes theories emerged. Some said the writers ran out of ideas for Charmaine. Others believed Cosby wanted to refocus on the core family. There were even whispers that Charmaine had become too popular, unintentionally overshadowing some veteran cast members. Whatever the case, Karen never confirmed any conflict. In later interviews, she remained gracious. "It was one of the best jobs I ever had. I just wish I'd had the chance to say goodbye." After The Cosby Show, Karen continued playing Charmaine for a short stint in a different world, then moved on to various TV and film projects. She steadily built her career, appearing in dozens of productions, from Malcolm and Eddie to voicing characters in The Proud Family. Interestingly, when asked if she would have stayed longer had she been invited, Karen answered instantly, "Of course. That role felt wonderful, like home." But the invitation never came. Karen Malina White didn't leave The Cosby Show because of failure or conflict. She left simply because the show didn't know how to keep a character who had succeeded beyond expectations in its final stretch. And that was a real loss, because Charmaine Brown had proven that even in its closing chapters, The Cosby Show could still feel fresh, if only they had let it. Geoffrey Owens. From the devoted husband to a tough struggle for survival. From the story of Karen Malina White, a talent wasted in the final moments, we move on to a character much more familiar to audiences. Elvin Thibodeau, the husband of the eldest sister Sandra. If Charmaine brought fresh energy, then Elvin was a long-standing character who went through an entire journey of growth on screen. And the real-life story of Geoffrey Owens, who played Elvin, reveals a very different slice of life for an actor after the spotlight fades. Elvin first appeared in Season 2, initially portrayed as a clumsy, shy man with sexist views, making him a frequent target for the Huxtable family's gender jokes. But over time, under the influence of Sandra and the rest of the family, Elvin matured into a husband who shared household duties and loved his wife and children. Geoffrey Owens transformed a humorous supporting role into a lovable character that audiences remembered every time he stepped on screen. However, Owens always knew his place in the script. He did not appear in every episode, and was rarely given his own storyline. Elvin mainly existed as part of Sandra's story. And when Sabrina Le Beauf Sandra began to get less screen time, Elvin naturally appeared less as well. There were episodes where Sandra visited home, but Elvin was only mentioned by name without showing up. By the end of Season 8, Elvin disappeared entirely with no farewell scene or explanation given. Owens never complained. He remained professional until the very end, then quietly left. But leaving The Cosby Show didn't mean leaving the shadow of Elvin. In the eyes of many casting directors, Geoffrey Owens was forever the gentle, reliable Elvin, suitable for supporting roles but rarely considered for leading ones. He kept working steadily, performing in theater, taking guest roles, teaching, but his acting income was never particularly abundant. Then came the biggest financial blow when Bill Cosby's scandal erupted in 2014. TV networks simultaneously pulled The Cosby Show from their schedules. For viewers, it was simply a boycott. For the cast, it meant losing a stable source of residual income from reruns. Owens admitted, "When the show was taken off the air, our income dropped sharply. That's when I had to think about what I needed to do to support myself and my family." Owens' solution: working as a cashier at Trader Joe's. He chose the job because of its flexible schedule, which allowed him to take acting roles when available, and more importantly, it paid enough to make ends meet. Things might have remained quiet if not for a viral photo in August 2018. A customer recognized Owens at the checkout counter, secretly took a photo of him wearing an apron, and sent it to a tabloid. Within hours, the picture flooded the internet with mocking headlines like "Hollywood star fallen from grace, now working retail." Owens admitted that moment was deeply painful. They picked the worst photo: wrinkled shirt, awkward pose, and attached cruel words to it. But surprisingly, the wave of support for Owens quickly overshadowed the ridicule. countless colleagues and fans spoke up. There's nothing shameful about honest work. Owens's story even became a source of inspiration for those who had to temporarily set aside their passion to make a living. Director Tyler Perry immediately offered him a role in a new series as a gesture of encouragement. Owens accepted everything with humility. He took pride in his work at Trader Joe's and saw it as part of his journey. I've acted, taught, and directed for over 30 years, but that alone wasn't enough to cover expenses. When you have to, you do what needs to be done. Notably, Owens has never publicly commented on Cosby's case. Perhaps he didn't want to be caught up in controversy or simply understood that silence was also a safe choice. But it's clear the Cosby scandal had a direct impact on his life, at least financially. Cosby never spoke about Owens's hardship, nor did he reach out to help. Today, Geoffrey Owens is still working, still admired for his character and work ethic. To audiences, he is part of the Cosby Show's legacy. To himself, he is proof that fame can fade, but dignity does not. And the story of Elvin, from a bumbling husband to a self-reliant man, turns out to mirror the very path Geoffrey Owens has walked in real life. Erika Alexander, The Last Card and the Limits of the Cosby World. From the story of Geoffrey Owens, the man who turned a career shock into proof of dignity, we move to Erika Alexander, the youngest actress to join The Cosby Show. She was not only the new girl in seasons 7 and 8, but also the last card Bill Cosby played to save a series that was losing its appeal. Yet Erika too had to leave without a proper goodbye, leaving behind a lingering sense of regret for a character who once breathed fresh air into the Huxtable household. In 1990, The Cosby Show began to stall. Ratings were falling. Audiences complained the stories were repetitive and lacked energy. Cosby and the writing team decided to introduce a new character to refresh the atmosphere: Pam Tucker, a distant cousin from a poor neighborhood who moved in with Uncle Cliff and Aunt Claire after her mother faced hardship. Erika Alexander, barely in her 20s, was chosen for the role. Pam arrived like a fresh breeze. Unlike the Huxtable children who were raised in comfort, Pam was sharp, outspoken, and streetwise. She had no hesitation debating with Uncle Cliff, sometimes engaging in playful verbal sparring with Aunt Claire, and blended naturally into the show's comedic rhythm. Pam's presence added a new layer of social contrast, a real character, imperfect, and therefore more relatable to a segment of the audience. Viewers responded positively, but behind the scenes the reception was less warm. Erika Alexander once quipped, "I came in through the side door and couldn't get into the living room." The remark perfectly captured Pam's position, part of the story, but never at its center. Cast members later recalled that Erika's character was viewed as a temporary patch, a stopgap to fill space and try to retain viewers rather than a long-term narrative direction. Still, Erika did her job well. She appeared in 20 episodes, maintained consistent performance, and brought moments of humor and sometimes tenderness to the screen. But when season 8 ended, Pam simply vanished. No farewell scene, no explanation, as if her 2 seasons had never happened. In interviews about The Cosby Show's legacy, Bill Cosby never mentioned the character Pam Tucker. Off-screen, Erika called the experience a gift, as it allowed her to learn and gain a stepping stone for future opportunities. Yet she was candid, playing Pam did not open as many doors as people might think. After leaving The Cosby Show, Erika shone brightly as Maxine Shaw in the sitcom Living Single, a bold, sharp, unforgettable character that finally earned her the recognition she deserved. When Cosby's scandal broke, Erika Alexander became one of the few former Cosby Show cast members to speak out clearly. She called it a heartbreaking disappointment, saying Bill Cosby was not the man she had believed him to be. Erika stressed that Cosby had never behaved inappropriately toward her, but admitted she had seen his authoritarian side and a lack of tact in his behavior. She supported the victims and believed justice should be served while maintaining a measured perspective, accepting the truth without completely erasing the good the show had brought. For Erika, leaving The Cosby Show was not a failure, but a beginning. Yet Pam Tucker's quiet disappearance remains a clear sign of the limits of the Cosby world, a space where characters who were too real, too different from the idealized image, could not last long. And sometimes leaving at the right time is the only way to preserve the value you've brought. Looking back at the journeys of Lisa Bonet, Sabrina Le Beauf, Joseph C. Phillips, Malina White, Geoffrey Owens, and Erika Alexander, one common thread emerges. They left The Cosby Show not only because of scripts or roles, but also because of the limits, conflicts, and unfillable gaps behind the scenes. Some departed amid the noise of confrontation, some vanished quietly, and some only dared to tell the truth after years of silence. Though their reasons differed, all of them left the audience with one message: behind the flawless laughter on screen were real-life stories where the truth sometimes only revealed itself after the lights had gone out. If you want to keep uncovering behind-the-scenes secrets and untold stories from legendary TV shows, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Because the next stories, I promise, will surprise you even more.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast.
There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.